Welcome to the Pod in Your Basement podcast, featuring Ben DeLessio and Joe Garza. They're alive, they're hungry, and they're opinionated.
Here we are again.
Back
in the basement.
Back in the basement. This is dusty basement. Yeah. What's happening, man? What's anything spooky going on in your life?
Nope, totally normal. What about you?
Yeah, pretty normal too. We don't have to talk about. We can save this for another episode. But you watched the recent movies with the zombies. The
28 years later.
Yeah, and the Bone Temple. The
Bone Temple. Yeah, it was cool. They came out past last year and this year, and pretty quick. Bone Temple came out. It's on Netflix now, but it came out pretty early 2026, which is cool.
Yeah,
it still feels, which is crazy because 28 years later took 15 years or something, like a very long time.
Yeah,
and then they did 2 back-to-back. It was good. Yeah, we'll save it. We'll do a whole episode on it so that you can watch it.
Yeah.
It kind of broke with some of my bugaboos I have with zombie movies sometimes. This committed, but it actually did it well. So that'll be fun to discuss.
Yeah.
Teaser for an upcoming episode. Stay tuned.
We'll get into it, but maybe do a whole episode on that series, because I've only seen the first one.
So actually, that's a good idea too. We could do it on the whole series.
Yeah, and talk about the ups and downs and how it
did revolutionize. It revolutionized the zombie genre.
Yeah. But today we're rocking out with our.
This is I feel like this is a very Joe topic.
Yeah. So you had this idea of talking horror punk, and I'm not quite as familiar with punk, but I was like, well, there's also a lot of horror, rock and metal bands. So just kind of doing a whole, just kind of talking about the intersection of rock and horror. And I feel like it's kind of at first it doesn't seem like an obvious mix, but I think when you kind of go back to the roots of the blues, it's we talked about this over on the Reckless Musecast, but it's the blues, Robert Johnson and the Devil, there's a fair amount of the occult overlapping with American popular music. There's kind of an interesting history there, and so
that's a good connection.
Yeah, so I think when you kind of dig more into it, you're like, oh well, of course, rock and roll and heavy metal and punk, and it would overlap with horror aesthetics.
I would say even going back to Rock Around the Clock was considered devil music.
Yeah.
So it really has been there since the beginning.
Oh yeah. And when they have
Satan is everywhere, Joe. So.
It's in the Satan's in the Olympics.
Satan is everywhere.
Yeah. Did you want to start? Did you have some bands lined up that you want to start the conversation with?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's tough to talk about music, but I'm a huge fan, and I think some people are surprised to hear this, especially people who don't know I have a horror podcast, which is still relatively new. So I'm a huge fan of horror punk. It's actually one of my favorite subgenres of music. I especially like the kind of campy stuff. So I was, doing research for this, you want to call it that, for this episode, kind of the history of horror punk. I think a lot of people, myself included, considered the Misfits the first horror punk band, and they're definitely one of the first, but the Cramps were really, I guess, considered the first, at least from this punk historian. Yes, that's a guy, a punk historian. He said the Cramps were first, but I was listening to the Cramps and I like the Misfits more. So I'm going to say the Misfits. One, what immediately makes them better is that they're from New Jersey. So that's a plus. It's funny because I feel like people like my dad would see the Misfits and be a bunch of hooligans and but really, I know last podcast on the left did or no, it wasn't Last Podcast on Left. It was No Dogs in Space. Marcus Parks, who's a co-host of Last Podcast on Left, has a music podcast. So he was talking about the history with his wife. He's talking about the history of the Misfits, and they're like high school football players from Lodi, New Jersey, the original band, who like go to Giants games and work in the factory, like one of their dad's factories. Like they were just like total like Italian, like they're all Italian Americans for the most part. Like dudes from New Jersey, which is like really not what you would think when you see them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Glenn Danzig, that's not his real name. His real name's Glenn Anzalone. And I think Danzig he gets from like a German castle or something, or a town in Germany, something like that. And they're the Chiaffa, I think that's how Chiaffa brothers. Yeah, like Jerry Only's name, it was like I think they were asking him what he wants his name to be on the poster, and he was like Jerry Only, as in like only Jerry. So they just they called it like Jerry Only. Something like that. I don't know if that's the correct anecdote, but something like that. So anyway, Misfits, I love them. One, they're so varied because they've had a bunch of different frontmen. They've had offshoots. They retired for a while and then came back, but with a different lead singer. Which has his own, what's his name? Danzig Graves was his last name. I'm blanking on his first name. It might be Danny. But, they have they're such a good mix to me of their early stuff is very like it's from the 70s. So it's just a kind of pure punk.
Yeah.
Obviously with horror elements. And then it becomes a lot more like bluesy. And in the late 90s, it's I'd say more, like radio friendly, but still really fun and enjoyable. And like Dig Up Her Bones is kind of a classic. I think it's like late 90s Misfits song. And then they did like a whole album just like 50s doo-wop, but punk style, like Misfits style, and I really like that. So they have like a Dream Lover, a cover of that, and songs by what's that guy's name? Oh my god, my wife just auditioned for a show about him. I'm blanking on his name, but it'll come to me. But like another kind of like 50s. I just like the juxtaposition of that, like the horror and they're like such total opposites, like horror punk and then 50s kind of doo-woppy, bubblegum stuff.
Yeah.
And I just think that's a really cool combo. So that's all I'd say. Like the Misfits are just I feel like there's something in them for maybe not everyone, but a lot of people.
Yeah, I think full disclosure, I never really got into the Misfits. I think the handful of songs I listened to them, I thought were okay, but I think it was one of those like kind of like the Iron Maiden thing where you look at the album cover and you think, oh man, this is gonna be an extreme band, and then you listen to them like this is not as extreme as I was expecting. So I think
they're not Slayer.
Yeah. So I think like my first introduction to them, I was like, oh, they're not quite as wild as I thought they were. But I should revisit them and go through their catalog because I love Glenn Danzig. I love his solo career from the 90s onward.
Yeah.
And then so after the Misfits, there was Samhain. That Danzig started.
That was on Danzig's other bands. Yeah, not nearly as possible, not nearly as popular.
Yeah, but I heard it kind of bridged the gap from the sort of like rockabilly horror punk, and it started to get a little harder. It was a little more hardcore, and it kind of bridged the gap between his punk rock days, his more like hard rock, heavy metal solo career. So yeah, I should do a deeper dive into all those, and because I remember it was the bassist from the Misfits. I just remember like reading Guitar World magazine when I'm like 12, 13 years old. And again, I haven't really heard much of their music. And then just seeing like this big bulky like goth dude, playing a crazy bass, and he just has like, and all of his long hair is just like turned into like one long thing.
It's called the devil. Yeah, it's called the Devil's Lock.
Oh well, okay.
And I think like someone's mom, like one of their mom. That's the thing. They would like eat pasta in like their North Jersey houses, and like the grandma would be cooking, but they'd also be like making devil locks and stuff.
So for mine, for my first one, I'm gonna pick a band called, and this is a band I feel a little embarrassed to have not known about sooner. I only found out about them in the last few years. This is the band from the late 60s called H.P. Lovecraft. They were a psychedelic acid rock band,
Okay.
mixed with some folk elements. I listened to them because I was like, oh, I got it. Like this sounds like it's perfect for me because I'm a huge fan of Lovecraft, the author. And it was okay. It was a little too drony. It was a little too, flower powery for me. It was okay though. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But they actually, they weren't exactly a massive band, but they were definitely influential on sort of like psychedelic rock scene. But they were also like one of the first bands, I think, to explicitly incorporate horror elements. And they actually based several songs on Lovecraft's music. So they did kind of bridge the gap there. Like they did kind of set the stage a little bit for Black Sabbath, who would come out just a couple of years after them. They're worth checking out, but for me, it's more like screensaver music, where it's something we just kind of put on the background. It's not really something that
I've tried to get into some acid rock. Like I really wanted to like the Flaming Lips and bands like that, but I couldn't really get into it.
Yeah, it's not my favorite type of music, but it's all right though. It's interesting. It's worth a listen. But here's the thing, despite the fact that the band is called H.P. Lovecraft, the overall sound of their music is not very dark. It's not very spooky or gothic at all. It's still pretty, like, if you didn't know the name of the band, you'd just be like, oh, this is just like a typical late 60s psychedelic band. But they are interesting for being like, hey, let's make lyrics based on horror stories, and specifically Lovecraft. So I'll give them credit for that, for being pioneers in that sense. And I do want to talk a little bit about Black Sabbath, because they were another band who took that element even further. So they actually took their name from I think it was a Mario Bava movie, because I know he did Black Sunday, but I think he also did Black Sabbath. Film, 1963 by Mario Bava. So when Black Sabbath first started in like the mid to late 60s, they kind of started off as like kind of a typical psychedelic, hippie rock band. But they were looking for a way to differentiate themselves from other like-minded bands. And so there was a movie theater right across the street from where they were performing at, and they just saw this massive line for the Mario Bava film. So like, oh, people love horror, people love spooky stuff. And so when the first album came in 1970, they're singing, very explicitly occult lyrics, even though it wasn't glorifying, Satan or but their songs were basically like little horror stories.
Is that when it was Dio the lead singer? Or
no? So Dio didn't become singer until 1980, I believe. So like a full decade after their first album.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Who was their first lead singer?
Ozzy.
Wait, Ozzy came before Dio?
Oh yeah.
Why did I thought they kicked Dio out for Ozzy?
No, they kicked Ozzy out for Dio.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not realize that.
Yeah. And they took on like a more, and it's funny because Ozzy and the guitarist Tony Iommi, as far as I know, have always been, I wouldn't say committed Christians, but they've always been pretty Christian.
Wait, who? Who?
Ozzy and the guitarist for Black Sabbath, Tony.
Ozzy's a Christian?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's funny because he's branded as the Prince of Darkness, and he had this reputation for being...
Well, he did. Well, I think an earned reputation. He bite the head off a bat.
Which was an accident too, by the way.
An accident?
It was. So he was playing live. This was like the early 80s, I think. He was playing live, and then somebody threw a dead bat on stage, and he was just sort of like I think this might have been when he was like boozing and under the influence of stuff. So he's like, oh, I thought it was a rubber bat. So I was like, just as a joke, kind of lean into, and I didn't realize that it was a fake bat. So he had to get like a bunch of like rabies shots and shit. And then he also drunkenly bit the head off of a dove. So there's a lot of stuff. I can see how this makes Ozzy look pretty spooky.
Yeah.
But and the funny thing is, he actually bit the head off of a dove like in the middle of a meeting with like record executives, and he was like drunk, and like he just and Sharon had she was the one like managing him, and she was representing him in this like boardroom, and it was a great meeting, and then Ozzy stumbled in drunk with the dove that he got somewhere, and then he put the head, and all the record executives were like, oh god, like this is who we just signed to our label, like oh my god. But anyway, so I understand how Ozzy could come off as like, but I mean, it was there was like a wink and a nod. It's like professional wrestling where it's like, it's just for fun. But yeah, anyway, I brought up the Christian thing because, even though Black Sabbath and as well as Ozzy had this reputation of being like, you know, like sort of satanic leaning band. I mean, like they were all, it was all just theatrics, really. They always wore crucifix and shit, and in kind of a gothic way. But yeah, no, all of them are, or at least the two main guys are Christians. So
yeah.
But so those are my picks for that one. Do you have what you got any other ones you want to bring up?
Sure,
because I've got a few.
Yeah. Well, of course, I have to also mention that Ronnie, you know, the whole devil horns gesture.
Yeah,
you know, it's not exactly set in stone who created it, but I think a big one of the people popularized it in the rock heavy metal scene was Dio. That came from Ryan James Dio is also Italian American. And
Italians, always the Italians.
His grandmother would make, you know, the horns, like my dad has done that, you know, to ward off evil. So it's actually like a lot of symbols people use, they don't always fully understand it. I always bring up the example of the upside down cross. That's actually a very religious symbol, very pro-religious symbol of upside down cross. Even in very funny, bring it up, even in the Bone Temple, you'll see the upside down cross plays a big part of it, which in the same typical way it's portrayed, but actually it's you know, it's what St. Peter was crucified on, and it's not a negative symbol at all. But so just like the devil horns, it's used to, I think a lot of people use it to promote, you know, even if it's just for fun, like satanic, like pro-satanic worship, whatever. But it's actually the opposite. It's actually used to ward off evil. And it's big in the Italian community.
Yeah, I love that though, and so if anything, like he might as well just be like doing the peace sign, you know, at these heavy metal concerts.
Like, very
it's a very positive thing.
It's like Christian rock, basically. All right, I just had to get that in there. I feel like we've talked about that before, but so sticking with horror punk, I like just some of the other bands. Like Blitzkid is a big one. They're might be my second favorite after the Misfits. I think they're West Virginia boys, and they have a very similar style. I think it's more traditionally punk, where it's like fast, but they have some melodic music too, and a lot of the same kind of themes. And again, I like the stuff. When I think horror punk, you know, I'm really thinking the campy stuff. That it's for fun. It's the makeup. It's the talking about the moonlight and suicide pacts, and you know, sometimes necrophilia sometimes. But it's all for fun. It's not real. So Blitzkid is another good one. The Rosedales, I love. I think they're Chicago based. They're very much like the same stuff, vampires, and like one of their songs of course is like, you know, I see the moonlight in your blood or something like that. Like I love that shit. Like I just eat that up. So anyway, I mean, I'll stop there. I don't know what else to really talk about them because I don't know as much about their lore. But if you're looking, just you have no idea what horror punk is, you're like, I want a taste of it, at least the kind of Ben's talking about, I would check out, of course, the Misfits and you know, from various albums. And I could, you know, I say some songs too. I think some of the punkier, darker ones are like Skulls is one of them. Last Caress is kind of like famously disturbing, where I think the opening line is like, I have something, like it's like I've got something to say, I raped your mother today, or something like that. And you see where that's like really disturbing, like I killed your baby today, something like. And but they're really fun and I know that sounds it's like twisted, but it's true. Like it's fun. They've said, like, look, it's kind of like I want to say like Slayer, where I know Slayer made a really controversial song like Jihad or whatever, but it's like from the perspective of a serial killer. Like that's what they're saying. They're not promoting it. It's just, you know, it's just music. Skulls, like I want your skulls, it's kind of like they're repeating, like very old school punk, like just repeating the same lines, like not like pretty quick verses, fast guitar. and like I want your skulls, I need your skulls, I want your skull, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I would check out those, but definitely try a bunch of different Misfits songs because they're very varied. And then Blitzkid and the Rosedales. I think those three would give you a nice taste of like campy horror punk.
Nice.
Yeah.
For my next one, I'm going with Alice Cooper. He was another one who kind of came out in the late 60s and early 70s. And even though they were, I wouldn't say they were straight up horror rock, but I mean the fact that Alice Cooper would wear like the sort of corpse paint, like he kind of like originated the sort of black metal, like the Norwegian black metal thing, where it's like corpse paint with white and black and shit and all that. So but for him it was more fun, but there was a schlocky element. Like he would often stage, I think they were kind of like the first, or at least one of the first like shock rock acts where they would like you spray blood onto like fake blood onto the audience, and then sometimes like there would be like fake executions of Alice Cooper on stage. So like
really? Pretty good.
Yeah. And then in fact there's a similar incident where a chicken got ripped apart at an Alice Cooper concert or something. Like there's like I don't think it was his fault. It was one of those things where it's like somebody just brought a chicken to an Alice Cooper concert, and then
how are people getting animals into shows? Like
I don't know. I don't know. But Alice Cooper. So the way they got their band is actually kind of the way they got their name is actually pretty interesting. So this is from Wikipedia. In 1968, the band learned that Todd Rundgren also had a band called the Nazz and had found themselves in need of another stage name. Fournier, who's also Alice Cooper, the actual lead singer. Alice Cooper is not his real name. Fournier also believed that the group needed a gimmick to succeed, and that all the other bands were not exploiting the showmanship potential of the stage. Yeah. The legend is that the name Alice Cooper came from a session with the Ouija board, largely chosen because it sounded innocuous and wholesome, in humorous contrast to the band's image and music. However, in an interview with Mark Radcliffe on the Radcliffe on McConaughey show on BBC Radio 2, Vince Fournier described the incident with the Ouija board as an urban legend. He said, "We literally got the whole story about the witch thing the way you guys got it. It was just like pure urban legend. I heard about the witch thing. Oh, yes, because the legend was that a Ouija board, and that they got that Alice Cooper was the name of a witch that was hanged in 1692 or some shit.
Sure.
We literally got the whole story about the witch thing the way you guys got it. It was just like pure urban legend. I heard about the witch thing probably the same way you did, but it was a great story." Eventually, Fournier adopted his stage name as his own from 1969 onwards, being referred to as Alice Cooper on the cover of the band's debut album. So what's interesting about Alice Cooper too is that like it started off as the name of the band, as also and he was also like the lead singer, so it was his name, but then he left the band, but he still kept Alice Cooper. So he was so then he had a solo career as Alice Cooper.
Gotcha. What did the rest of the band call themselves?
I don't know. I think they might have broken up and then joined other bands.
I just remember like whenever Alice Cooper pops in my head, I just think of him like holding a snake.
Yeah,
because he's doing that. And what's like their big song?
There's I'm 18. Oh, School's Out. They had a song on Wayne's World called Feed My Frankenstein. They did some great songs, or Alice Cooper, the singer, did a few great songs for Friday the 13th Part 6, which is my favorite Friday the 13th movie.
Oh yeah, Part 6. All right,
Part 6. Yeah, partly because of the killer soundtrack that Alice Cooper did for that one.
Gotcha.
But Alice Cooper's great. So have you seen? He's actually a little bit of an actor. So not only did he have a cameo in Wayne's World, he was also in a John Carpenter movie called Prince of Darkness. Have you seen that movie at all?
No.
It's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. I feel like the budget is a little too small. Like what's that saying? Like John Carpenter's reach extended his grasp, or his grasp didn't. It's like he had a big goal, but he couldn't quite reach it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Because he wanted to blend what do you call it? Chaos theory and theoretical physics with like Satanism and the occult. And it's a really big, wild, cool idea, but it just felt a little too contained. And it's like, oh, this budget was a little too small.
From the 80s? Prince of Darkness.
87, yeah.
That's not what Travolta, right?
No.
Movie. Okay.
But anyway, Alice Cooper plays a hobo in that one, and there's a scene where like he's possessed by this like occultish force. And it's funny because the movie it takes place in a church in downtown LA. That's still there.
Cool.
But he plays this hobo, and then he has like this like long like pole attached to a unicycle, and he stabs somebody with it, and then blood spurts. And apparently that was a prop from his own stage show that they used for the movie.
All right.
But so Alice Cooper, I think, did a great job of kind of tightening the bonds between rock and roll and horror. So
yeah, I mean, there's what's really cool about like horror punk, because horror obviously is a movie genre, and like there's so much influence between them, and they really play off each other well. Like, what was it? I actually just learned this today. Where's my note here? The Fiend, like the Misfits, the guy, like the skull face, that's kind of like their symbol. I actually was on my, wait, do I have it on this laptop? Let me see. Oh no, I have Misfit sticker on here, but not the skull. Anyway, it's called the Fiend, I guess, but like the Fiend Club is the fan group. Another reason I love the Misfits is they're really good to their fans. So they get the Fiend Club and the Crimson Ghost. Have you ever heard of the Crimson Ghost? Yes, that's where that guy comes from, which looks so campy, but that's why it's so fun.
Yeah,
like, to take this. It's like it's not that it's like not a little off-putting.
Yeah.
Like the mask is kind of creepy, but it's not like, you ever walk into, like, you go into a Halloween store.
Yeah.
You go into your local Spirit Halloween.
I was just about to say that. That's exactly what it looks like, a Spirit Halloween costume.
but you go in some of them and they're like really overblown, like they're really like kind of freaky and disgusting.
Oh yeah.
That's not what I enjoy as much. I like the campy, scary stuff.
Yeah.
It's I like for the punk rock stuff. Like that's why I don't enjoy. Well, one, because it sounds like a blender in your eardrums, but like black metal, like Norwegian black metal.
Oh yeah.
And that's like too real and too kind of just like disgusting. Where like I enjoy the more fun aspect of Halloween that can still address some pretty creepy, disgusting things, some scary things, but it's also like it's all in good fun at the end of the day. And I think that's what I enjoy about it.
No, for sure.
Bless you.
Thank you. That's what kind of cracks me up about a lot of darker rock and even metal bands. Not all, of course. I mean, Norwegian death metal bands and black metal bands specifically tend to there tends to be a lot of overlap between like their lyrical content and what they actually believe. I mean, if they're going on burning churches, it's like, okay, this is not just spooky for fun now. This is like, you actually mean this shit. But like, I mean, Slayer, so their lead guitarist, Kerry King, he's a pretty devout atheist, whereas the singer and the lyricist for the band is actually a lifelong Christian.
Oh, really?
He's a very devout Christian. Yeah. And so he's often asked in interviews, like, "Hey, so back during Slayer's early days, they had a lot more explicitly satanic stuff. They kind of moved on and just became kind of just like more just like war and death and stuff like that. But like they were explicitly more occult in the early days. But people would ask him all the time in interviews, like, what was it like being a devout Christian while also coming up with these satanic lyrics? And he goes, it was just for fun. We just wanted to scare people. There was like, which leads me to another one. So this is a band, one of my favorite death metal bands. And I'm not a big fan of death metal bands. I mostly like 80s death metal bands because at least that music tends to be a little bit more. Most of these guys are teenagers, so there's like this fun energy to it where it's like they're just going all out, and the production values are kind of shitty.
What are so like? I feel like people kind of throw around death metal for anything that sounds like angry and loud. Yeah. So like what would you define as death metal?
Death metal is heavy metal that's really fast and really heavy, and it's mostly known for having like the Cookie Monster style of vocals, like ooh, ooh, like Cannibal Corpse sort of thing.
Of course. Okay.
So that's the Cookie Monster growl is really kind of like the defining characteristic.
So like would like Death Clock be death metal?
Yeah, Death Clock.
Okay.
Right. They're absolutely death metal band. Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah.
I used to watch. I like Death Clock. I always like I say it. Like you have those things in kind of just pop culture that you just like randomly pop in your head, and I just like say to myself, like that's one of them growing up. Where I remember this one episode. I don't know why this episode stuck with me, but they actually go to like the Mississippi Delta to like learn about
the blues.
Like we're gonna play some Mississippi River Delta blues and just play like their regular music.
It's still just death metal.
It's still just death metal. And I always just found that really funny. I don't know why. Some Mississippi River Delta blues.
Dude, Metalocalypse was a great show.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Metalocalypse, the band's Death Clock, right?
Yeah. I put off watching that show for a long time because I thought like, oh, this is not like it's made by outsiders who don't understand the music. But when I watched the show, I'm like they actually did their homework. Like this is made by fans of heavy metal. So and you can really tell. But remember that episode where they go to like the Marianas Trench to record their album because they want to go to like the deepest, darkest place, and then like they're reading off their track list for the album, and then there's like Mermaider, Murder of Mermaids, and then the bassist goes scuba tank filled with farts.
Is the bassist the guy with the really weird voice?
Yeah.
And
he's got like that thick hair. Metalocalypse is a great show. So Death Clock is a great example of a parody, but they're definitely in the death metal genre. So one of the first, if not the first, death metal band is, funnily enough, called Death. And so for whatever reason, they're not fucking around. They're making it pretty clear. For whatever reason, Florida in the 1980s and early 90s was like the hotspot for death metal bands. Like they just
I
don't know. It's like you have like Disney World and Miami and like old folks and stuff, like the retirement homes and stuff. I don't know why death metal became
it's either death or you just want to kill yourself.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. Well, it's funny because I mean, like, isn't like we're just talking about like the Swedish and Swedish death metal bands, like, but isn't like I'm sure you've seen the meme where it's like Sweden and it's like beautiful mountains and picturesque towns and
fjords and
this is like the death metal band, the black metal bands, and there's like wearing corpse paint and they're singing about Satan and stuff. It's like you're not in the most beautiful place on earth, and you
have free health care and social security, and so we all get out. They do the same meme with like pop punk where it's like I'll show like a beautiful Riviera in San Diego, like Southern California. Like we got to get out of this shithole, man. I can't stand it here. I've got to get out of here. It's like here. It's like beautiful sunsets in Southern California.
But same
concept.
Yeah, no, seriously. And it just cracked. It's like, well, we need something to rebel against, I guess.
Yeah, then meanwhile it'll be like Palestine, and they'll be making like da 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 da.
Look at the happy day.
Israel's blowing the shit out of
them. So this band Death, they formed in 1983, which, as far as I know, that's the first death metal band. And so their first album came out in 1987 called Scream Bloody Gore. And most of the song, at least half of the songs on there that were based on horror movies that I could recognize. Infernal Death is based on Lucio not Infernal Death. No, Zombie Ritual is based on Lucio Fulci's Zombie, also known as Zombie 2. Regurgitated Guts is from that other Lucio Fulci movie. Did you watch it, City of the Dead? Like that chick, she barfs up all of her guts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait,
and they go down to.
Is that the one that's in like? It's in like a small town.
Yeah, small town, and
I think I did watch that. It was not very good.
It was not very good, but I did like the gore. There's a scene where like a guy gets drilled through the head.
Yes, there's a lot of like brain grabbing. Right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I did see that. I watched it last year. I think I watched it during Horror Fest.
Yeah, that's right. Regurgitated Gets is based on the movie. Not a very good movie, but it's got some fun death scenes. Torn to Pieces is based on that one of those infamous cannibal movies. Either Cannibal Holocaust or Cannibal Frost.
Cannibal Holocaust.
I think so.
The one like the Amazon.
Yeah. And then
movies are fucked.
And then Evil Dead is based obviously on Evil Dead. But yeah, so like they base it on like trashy, low budget gorehound movies from the 80s, which I got a kick out of. And so the main guy is actually a really talented guitarist. His name is Chuck Schuldiner. He's no longer with us. But again, I don't think he was a particularly religious person, but he was asked, hey, so where did you get, like, what made you want to write about like all these like gory subjects? And he goes, I thought it was funny. It's just so over the top you can't take it seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I do think there's something, and I know, and I did fact check this. Speaking of kind of the Nordics, there was a Swedish, like Norwegian black metal is like the infamous one, but I think they all have their version. I think like Finland per capita is like the most heavy metal bands in the world.
Yeah.
It's like our education system is too good.
The people are too happy.
Yeah, we're too comfortable.
I mean, and aren't like Nordic countries, aren't they known for having like the happiest like index?
Well, that's what's weird. Yes, but they also have very high suicide rates.
Interesting.
So it is strange. Like, yes, they are usually very high on like approve of their government and happiness. Like Denmark is always, that's Scandinavian. I don't know if that'd be considered Nordic. But like, yeah, very high happiness. Like that people always like they're on like the happiest country in the world.
Yeah.
But they do have very high suicide rates, and I don't know if that has to do with more of like this lack of sunshine, like that sort of thing in the winter.
I was just about to bring that up. That seems like one of the few things that seems like kind of a downer there.
Yeah, it definitely does. But I was gonna say, yeah, I know there's a Swedish black metal or death metal, whatever, who they like were studying Catholicism to like attack it more, and then they just ended up converting to Catholicism. It's really funny. And there's also like really like as a Christian, like there's some really metal stuff. And what I like to say is, look, like in my religion, we venerate the bones of our saints. We wear forms of execution around our necks and get them tattooed on our bodies, like the cross. And we eat the body and drink the blood of our Savior. Like, what is more metal than that shit?
Yeah.
Like, and that's not all Christian denominations, but like Catholicism, Orthodox, like that is true. And I think that's like super metal.
Yeah. Especially like the book, if you get into like the Book of Revelations, even if you're not glorifying it, like if you just did like a straight like retelling of like the Book of Revelations, like
Revelations is nuts.
It's like the earth is cracking open, and then like leviathans are poking out, and then fire's raining from the sky. There's all kinds of heavy metal shit going on there.
Yeah, it's like the original heavy metal shit.
Yeah. And real quick, just to go back to Ronnie James Dio. So when he joined Black Sabbath in the early 80s, so at the time he was singing for a band called Rainbow.
I know. Yeah, Rainbow. Weren't they were like weren't they like a super, what were they called? Like that was a thing for a while. They're like super bands. Like they'd get like a guitarist from this band and a singer from that band, and they like an all-star team.
Yeah. So that was Richie Blackmore's band. So he left Deep Purple. Okay. And he'd gotten some other rock musicians, and so I think the band was even called Richie Blackmore's Rainbow. And then Ronnie James Dio was the first singer for that. And so he incorporated a lot of fantastical lyrics, a lot of like I think he was a big fan of like the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Sure.
So when he started singing for Black Sabbath, apparently Tony Iommi, the guitarist, told him, "Hey, can you stop with the fairy shit?" So it's like we're Black Sabbath. Like we go a little bit darker. Like
well, Ronnie James Dio, he's like tiny, right?
Oh yeah.
He's like a fairy. He's like a tiny little guy.
Yeah,
and he has this like crazy voice. Yeah, if you watch the music video of the Holy Diver, he's like fighting orcs and shit, right? Like he's got like a big sword.
Yeah.
No. So I like that stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Dio. Definitely one of my favorite singers. And somebody said he looks like Darla from Cheers, like the
He does kind of,
the waitress with the
he's got
curly
the
hair.
same really bad haircut.
Yeah,
It's like you either got to go like you got to go really long or really short. He does like the worst option.
He sticks the awkward middle ground there.
Yeah.
So real quick, so we were just talking about the Norwegian black metal scene, and so there's one band that I kind of like from that era, and but it was only one album from 1987. I like some extreme metal, but I like the early versions of it. Like once you get to like the 90s, and then it just becomes, to me, it's just kind of pure noise. But at least like there was some like these guys were kind of breaking ground, and again with the shitty production values, there's a trashy charm to a lot of it. So this band was called Mayhem.
I know Mayhem. Wasn't that
was a movie?
One? Yeah, Lords of Chaos, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not. Is it Kieran? No, what's
Kieran Culkin? That's right. He was in it.
No, is it Kieran? It's the other Culkin.
Oh,
not. There's three. Obviously not.
Macaulay.
Not Macaulay. Not. I don't think it's Kieran. I think it's the. Oh fuck! What's his name? Some with an R.
Rory.
I think it's Rory Culkin. Yeah. Right.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, good movie about Lars Vikardson or Lars Vikard, right? That guy.
Yeah. They have some pretty cool. The band members have had some pretty cool names over the years. There's like Necro Butcher, Hellhammer, Ghoul, Euronymous, Maniac.
Euronymous was
dead.
Wasn't he dead? Yeah, Dead was the singer.
That's right. Yeah, he's the one who died.
Who
killed himself.
He killed himself. Well, that actually bring that. I wrote that article about how I'm tired of seeing cats get killed and shit.
Yeah,
and I brought that up because in that movie, in like Dead's apartment or an attic or whatever it is, like there's like a hanged cat, which obviously I didn't like.
Right.
And I looked it up, and like people were pissed off because they're like, "Look, Dead was fucked up. He was a messed up guy. He would never hurt an animal like that. He would never do that."
Right.
And I use that as an example of just like, yeah, of course you have to put a cat getting killed because you just have to, because that's what you do in scary movies. And it's like it wasn't factually accurate. If it was, that's different. But it's just because people are like, that's like the most unrealistic thing about this movie.
Right. So you got any? Do you want to take a stab at?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just talk. Really, I just have a couple other bands that I think are worth mentioning. I know one of them, Calabrese, which is funny. Like again, we're talking about like where bands are from, and Calabrese is from like Tucson, Arizona, or something like Southern Arizona, where it's like nice and sunny, and like you don't think of that's where a horror punk band is going to come from. Also, Calabrese just reminds me of you won't know this reference, like Carlo Calabrese. He was a linebacker for Notre Dame, who I think went to the pros. Well, I beat him in the 7th grade basketball championship. So whatever. Wow. Yeah. So you suck it, Carlo. His last name was Calabrese. He was like the star player on that team, Verona, New Jersey, and we beat them. So get some. So then talk about funny names. This is what I like this band. Also Swedish, I think. 99% sure they're Swedish. And this feels like something that like you'd hear a band in Japan where the English isn't their first language, but they're called the Zombie Suckers. and they're really good. Like and it's kind of crazy to me how many, whether it's heavy metal or I don't know, just like other types of rock or blues. Like sometimes I'm listening to a band, I'll be like, oh, like where are they from? They must be from like Louisiana or Mississippi or something. And you listen and they're from like Gotland or something like that. Like Zombie Suckers and Calio, who they're not horror punk at all. They're just but like they don't sound what you would think of like a Scandinavian band. They sound like they're from the South, like American, and it's crazy. A lot of I'm blanking on some other band names, but yeah, it's just really fun that these Scandinavian bands sound more American than American bands do.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm off. That kind of annoys me sometimes. Whenever, like, you know that band Foghat. They had that song "Slow
Oh
Ride."
yeah, yeah. Wait, where's Foghat from?
England.
Oh,
Foghat to me, like cruise. Slow Ride to me, it's like the ultimate like American cruising song in the '70s. I'm like, how did the Brits
yeah,
come up with that? I don't know Brits knew how to
yeah,
cruise.
yeah. That is interesting. It's very like even what it's like slow ride. Dun,
Take
dun,
it
dun,
easy. It's like
easy.
that seems to sound like
That's
American.
yeah. That's like 70s, right?
Yeah,
American. Like you're in the car, just hanging out, smoke-filled cars, and
yeah.
it's very Dazed and Confused, right?
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah.
probably in Dazed and
It's in
Confused,
Days
right?
and Confused for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, that can be annoying, but like, what about we're just talking like where bands are from.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, Creedence, right?
Yeah.
If you listen to Creedence,
You think they're from the Bayou? Yeah.
yeah, they're from like where you're from.
Yeah. No, they're from San Jose. I think.
Yeah, they are, right? They're from like yeah, right, that area. But you think they're like from the Bayou,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think is fine because the music's great.
Yeah. No, for sure, absolutely. When I say I'm annoyed by it, it's more just
Sure.
like it's more out of jealousy, where it's like that should be an American.
It should be.
Slow Ride should be American.
I didn't realize Foghat was not American because
Yeah.
I know the band. I never really
I found
thought
that
of
out
it.
like 3 months ago. I'm like, I've been listening to this band since I was like 15. So
Well, that's a very British thing too, though, is to just sound American, like the Animals
yeah.
sound American. You know, the House of the Rising Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So speaking of taking this back to horror and rock, speaking of bands from interesting, surprising places, did you know Italy has produced some good heavy metal bands? Because they did. There's one called Death SS.
Okay.
Yeah, the SS stands for the lead singer. His name is Steve Sylvester.
Okay.
So they formed in 1977, and they kind of started off as more like doom metal, where it's more like Sabbathy, kind of like more slow, thick, sludgy rock. But it wasn't until 1987 when the first album came out. So this band had been around for a full 10 years before their first album came out.
They're from Italy?
Yeah, they're from Italy. Pesaro?
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 I don't know. I don't know. That
But anyway, yeah, so they're from Italy, and their first album came out in 1987. It's called In Death of Steve Sylvester. I don't really know what that means exactly. But same thing there. Like almost all of their songs are just like I think the first track of that album is just called The Vampire. And they have another song called The Mummy. So it's just like, yeah, let's just like you might kind of like them because they're definitely more thrash metal, but there's also like a cheeky element. There's a goofy leaning into like the playful side of
what are they called? Death SS?
Death SS, yes.
Okay. Dude, do you know what do you think of GWAR?
I was gonna bring him up actually. That's one of my picks.
All right. Talk about GWAR. You said wait, is the vampire or the Night of the Vampire? Is that GWAR? No, it's not GWAR. But anyway,
so.
Yeah. No. The GWAR song I know is hey, yo.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So talk about GWAR.
So GWAR is I'm only a casual fan of the music. They have got a few songs I kind of like. But they're very goofy but they're really fun, and they're always in character whenever they're out in public. So they formed their sorry, this is from Wikipedia here. They formed in Richmond, Virginia in 1984, composed of and operated by a frequently rotating lineup of musicians, artists, and filmmakers, collectively known as Slave Pit Inc. Okay. So they are identified by their distinctively grotesque costumes. GWAR's core thematic and visual concept revolves around an elaborate science fiction themed mythology, which portrays the bands as barbaric, medieval, Nordic, mythological, biblical, or interplanetary warriors.
They're like full makeup, right? Like all the time, and do like real crazy theatrics.
Oh yeah, and like makeup is an understatement because like they have like those massive cartoony costumes.
Yeah.
And I haven't done like a deep dive into their lore. But yeah, apparently like there's like a whole like mythology. And whenever they're playing live, like they're we're like one of like the like they kind of carried over the shock rock torch, from Alice Cooper in the 80s into the 90s. They're very goofy. I get a big kick out of them because whenever they're being interviewed, they're still in character. They're in full costume, so they're fully committed to the bit. And then they have like a monster. They often have like a giant slug monster thing that they'll feed audience members to. Like they'll just bring it up on stage. They'll throw like fake blood and body parts into the audience and stuff. So it's GWAR is one of those bands where it's like, just being a casual fan of the music, I would love to go to a show just once, just to experience it once. It's like Burning Man, but like condensed and just like all on one stage, just like insanity. They're really over the top. They're a fun band.
GWAR is crazy.
Yeah.
The song I was thinking of is called Night of the Vampire. It's by Entombed. Do you know Entombed?
Oh, they're a death metal band, ain't they? Or a black metal band?
I don't know what they would be called, but I like this song a lot. It's just like basically one line. It's like, tonight is the night of the vampire, and it's just a guy kind of like screaming in the background. And I don't know why I like it, but I like it a lot. Sometimes, like, if I'm just like I was like be in a certain mood, I'll like get in the shower and I'll turn on that song. It's just like very atmospheric.
Yeah.
You should listen to it.
I'll dig that one up. But any more on your list?
I don't think so. I mean, I have like just kind of interspersed throughout my playlist. I was like getting real big horror punk moods, and I mean, like I won't consider them horror punk. Well, not punk at all, but like I do like the theatrics. Like I always love Slipknot and like kind of the masks, and I think that stuff's really fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then because also in the 90s there was Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie too, who kind of
love Rob Zombie. That's true.
Was there like a schoolyard rumor about Marilyn Manson that you remember?
Oh yeah, he got his
ribs removed.
So he sucked his own dick.
Yeah,
of course. Classic urban life, like that shit. I feel like, do kids have that stuff anymore? Where like things just get propagated around the schoolyard, but it's like, you were in California, I was in New Jersey, and we both heard that.
Yeah.
Like I don't think that exists. Because
I think it's easy to debunk now because everyone's got a smartphone. Exactly. So you can just be like, no, it's not true. Well, Snopes says it's not true. where nowadays, where it's like, when we were kids, it was like there was no way to confirm it. It was like, oh, dude, like my friend's older brother told me.
Not only was there no way to confirm it, we would just make shit up.
Yeah.
Like we would just I remember one of my friends just started a rumor that Warren Sapp was gay for no reason. just started a rumor. I don't know why, but it's just like caught on. Like that's the kind of shit that would just, and I guess kids do have that stuff like with each other, and like, which is not nice. Like it's not healthy, where it's like, oh, that person has that at home or whatever. Like that's not good because you can't really debunk that stuff. But I mean, like the Marilyn Manson rumor, because that was an all-time early 2000, like late 90s, early 2000s. Kid rumor. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Did you ever have no rumor about Mr. Rogers?
No.
I remember like it's been debunked, but the rumor was that he was actually covered in tattoos and was like a sniper in the army and just like had like a crazy amount of confirmed kills.
No,
he was like this cold-blooded killer.
Never heard of that.
Not true.
Okay.
I think they even might have brought up in that movie with Tom Hanks. I can't remember if they did or not, but like and like adults would say that.
Right.
It wasn't even a schoolyard thing. That's just like what people said.
Huh.
Yeah. I kind of wish it was true.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for me.
I mean, something we can regularly bring up. They are. We just share like horror punk, horror metal songs we like, but yeah, it's one of those genres that can really just. It puts me in a good mood. It's very fun. It's like I used to kind of listen to it just like in October. And then as the years went on, it's just like a regular part. Like I think even Spotify will like show like that's one of my top listened to genres. You know?
Yeah, dude. Real quick, at the end of the year, like YouTube and Spotify when they do like the most listened to or the most watched or whatever.
Mm.
Like mine was like the least surprising. It was like the most listened to band on YouTube, Van Halen, and it's like,
Yeah.
duh.
But yeah. Well, I also noticed a lot of times when it comes to songs, it's kind of like what I got into early in the year, because you just end up playing it a lot more. It's at the top of your playlist, and then it moves down a little. Like, I don't know how many songs you had, but you kind of like hit that a lot. So it's really kind of skewed. Where I might like a song a lot more in December, but it's not. That's just like the math of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure at some point we will return to this. Yeah, I mean, I'm just fascinated by like rock and roll is already a very theatrical musical form. So I get a kick out of when bands intentionally amp it up and dabble in the darker side of things. It makes for some great fun. And yeah, like I said, most of the time it's not glorifying anything evil. It's just
no.
Except Norway.
Besides that, yeah, it's just all in good fun. It's like horror movies. It's like people aren't making John Carpenter's not making the slashers because he wants there to be slashers in real life. Like, it's a form of entertainment. It's fun.
Yeah. I'm sure this is some subject that we will return to at some point as well. Because there are a handful of rock and heavy metal horror movies actually out there. Most of them are not very good. But in the 80s, there were some very cheesy ones. So maybe if I can find a way to dig those up, it'll be fun.
Let's share some of those and we can do episodes. All right, cool, man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and see you in the basement.
See you in the basement.